Polestar is the electric and performance division of Volvo, and here we have its latest creation, the Polestar 2. In this case, it is a dual-motor, all-wheel drive BEV. I'm eager to drive it. Join me today on Family Wheels. I have a brief request. Support Family Wheels simply by giving us a like. It helps spread the word, and so does sending a link to a friend. Subscribe and click the little bell so you'll be notified when a review is published, and share your thoughts with me and your fellow viewers by writing a comment. Thanks! There is so much interest in electric autos that my photo and video EV shoots go long because so many passers-by stop to ask questions. And the first question is always, what's the range? In fact, there's too much emphasis on it. Range really matters for out-of-town trips, but isn't material in most people's daily driving. Nonetheless, it's good news that range generally is on the rise, with many automakers targeting 400 kilometers, about 250 miles. The Polestar 2 you see here, with dual motors for all-wheel drive, is rated at 400k, 249 miles. The single-motor trim with front-wheel drive uses the same 78 kilowatt-hour battery at a slower rate, giving it an estimated range of 426k, or 265 miles. That's just 4k less than the rear-drive Tesla Model 3, which costs about $11,000 more. The all-wheel drive Model 3 long range has 538k, 138 more than our dual-motor Polestar, but costs $15,000 more. In design terms, the Polestar is essentially a sedan sitting on a raised suspension with cladding over the wheel arches, a common practice in an industry adapting to buyers' preference for crossovers and SUVs. Here, its application is tastefully muted, forming a black highlight line along the lower edge of the entire vehicle. The overall design is gorgeous, not copying Volvo, yet bearing a resemblance. Think of it as Volvo's cousin that quietly rebelled, became successful on its own, but doesn't lord it over the rest of the family. The car is built in China, but the design is as Swedish as a plate of gravlax. The cabin is Scandinavian, yet contains no teak or leather. Polestar calls its Weave Tech upholstery a vegan luxury fabric alternative to leather. It's described as a water-based PVC material that contains 1% phthalates instead of the typical 35 to 45% across the industry. Our review car, with its two-tone fabric and diamond pattern panels, is classy, not showy. Pay $5,000 for the Plus Pack, and you can get ventilated leather seats if you want to be that guy at the next climate protest. The upgrade also offers trim in black ash or cleverly reconstructed wood. The Polestar's interior is not without its faults. The big straight-out-of-Volvo touchscreen blocks the typical space for center vents, so they're on top of the dash. The bin between the seats is actually the second cup holder. It's there because the console stretches well behind the shifter, taking up precious space. At least there are useful cubbies on the side, ideal for sunglasses. And on this trim, the seat rake is manually adjusted via a rotary knob that's got a real 70s vibe, is difficult to reach, and stiff to turn. A design element that is easily overlooked is the outside mirrors. They're frameless rather than recessed into a housing. The entire assembly is power adjusted. Polestar says it reduces aerodynamic drag. How long it takes to charge an electric auto is more complicated than the 10 to 80% numbers you might have seen. Unlike gas-powered vehicles, there are variables, including the speed of the charging station, how fast the vehicle can ingest electrons, the battery level when charging begins, and temperature. For instance, we pulled up to a 50 kilowatt DC fast charger and got 16 kilowatt hours in 20 minutes, taking the charge from the 30% range to 50%. But to get to 100% would have taken another 2 hours, well beyond the suggested 40-minute time limit. On a level 2 charger, the commonest one in homes, the estimate to get from 36% to 100 was 8 hours. By the way, charging to no more than 90% is recommended. You get in, and the car starts up. There is no start button on this vehicle. You just get in, the heat is now on, audio is on if you want it, press the brake pedal, put it in gear and go. Our two-motor Polestar can generate 408 horsepower, which would be plenty in an internal combustion car, but is spectacular when the drive is electric. That's because the power is applied instantly, and so is the torque, 487 pound-feet of it, and that's the factor that shoves the driver's seat into your back. So the 400 horsepower and an absolutely stump-pulling amount of electric torque really makes it feel like this thing has more than 400 horsepower. All-wheel drive keeps a tight rein on those horses, and together they create a very European sports sedan feel. The single-motor Polestar 2 would feel less so, because its 231 horsepower and 243 pound-feet of torque only go to the front wheels, although that trim is lighter by 119 kilograms or 262 pounds. I like a good firm ride, and this has that. However, every time you hit an imperfection in the road, you get a booming sound inside the car. One-pedal driving is an option in the settings here on the Polestar, and I find it works very well in traffic like this, but there's no way to adjust it except through the main screen. I'm one of those people who likes to fiddle around with the regen so that when we head out on the highway, you can decrease it, and you're in the city, you can increase it. But that's personal preference. This is more of a set and forget it arrangement. With the Android Automotive operating system integrated right into the car, Android Automotive, not Android Auto, which is an overlay, the integration really helps out in some areas, and particularly with maps. It's the best I've ever used when it comes to maps. You can also control some car functions with it by saying, "Hey Google, turn down the temperature 1 degree."
Okay, turning down the temperature.
Still no Apple CarPlay. Polestar's literature, Volvo's as well, has promised Apple CarPlay for these vehicles that have Android Automotive, has promised it by the spring of 2022. This is the spring of 2022, and still not here. So all you can do is Bluetooth your Apple phone into the system. The 2022 Polestar 2 comes at a lower entry price compared to its predecessor, thanks to the single-motor trim and many options being moved into packages. Key among these is a heat pump, only available in the Plus pack. A heat pump improves the efficiency of heating and air conditioning in the car and helps manage the temperature of the battery and motor. It's particularly helpful in cold or hot climates. And I must protest the lack of a heated steering wheel unless you shell out for the Plus pack. Despite its reduced starting price, the Polestar 2 does not qualify for the Government of Canada $5,000 rebate. More bad news, here in British Columbia, only the single-motor version gets in under the provincial price cap. Always generous Quebec, however, offers a $7,000 rebate for both trims. And in the States, the full $7,500 U.S. federal income tax rebate is available for either spec. The Polestar 2 does have enough room for our standard cargo of 3 bags of groceries, a backpack, and a stroller, but not a lot more, particularly with the steep angle of the roof at the rear for the hatchback or the liftgate or whatever you want to call it. Underneath here we have a small bin, no spare tire. There's of course the charging cable that comes with electric vehicles. And in this side panel, a 12-volt 120-watt outlet. Well, good news in terms of child seats. Our rear-facing child seat, the one that takes up the most space, is behind me. I'm 5 feet 11 inches tall, 180 centimeters, and up front, my knees are not touching the glove box. Quite comfortable, in fact. Well, I wouldn't call it generous, but there is just enough room for me in the back of the Polestar. My knees are not touching the seat in front of me, and there is just enough headroom as well. As far as niceties in the back seat, the rear seats are not heated. That's a higher specification. You've got to pay more for that. We do have the center HVAC vents and a couple of USB-C ports. Well, that's our look at the Polestar 2, a handsome car that I really enjoy driving. But what do you think? Leave a comment. As always, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. I'm Richard Detman, and I'll see you next time on Family Wheels.